set the agenda for today, basically what I'm going to do is, first of all, talk a little bit about the PiscesPro and IndusPro tools that we recently launched. I'm going to follow that up with a short summary of both these tools. I'm also going to show you some of the resources that are already available on our website. So I'm talking about things like training videos, user manuals, where you can find information related to these tools on a website. So we'll spend some time on that. Then I'll take you to the virtual environment, and I'll show you how you can access these tools. So still taking advantage of the one model, one platform approach, an integrated approach that we offer. And we'll do a basic pipe sizing exercise. I'll show you how you can input things like heat emitters and pipe networks within your 3D model, and then we do a sizing exercise, and we will then talk briefly about the fee structure related to both PiscesPro and IndusPro. Great. So for those of you who are not aware of IES, or for example, you've invested in IES quite recently, you're just getting to terms with the software. For those of you who are new to IES, are keen to know what the software platform is all about and how you can use it for your thermal modeling or your, let's say, partial building regulation checks or generating EPCs. So just a quick introduction about the company as such. So IES has been in the building performance space for 25 years. We are the market leaders here in the UK. But we also got operations in different parts of the world. So as it stands currently, we operate in more than 140 plus countries, and we are working with all sorts of stakeholders, so be it architects, engineers, facility managers, cost consultants, BM, etc., BM assessors, and so on and so forth. Traditionally, we have built tools focused on buildings. So I mean building performance, improving building performance. But over the last few years, we've also transitioned to take our software to the next level and apply the tools that we've developed in the past to communities and cities, thereby participating in the smart cities sector. So virtual environment, what is virtual environment? Is basically a combination of all sorts of different modules. At the heart of all these modules lie our 3D modeling tool, that's Modellit. Depending on who you are, say if it's the case that you're an architect, you're looking at building performance, you might be interested in things like solar shading, or let's say daylighting, or let's say overheating. So you've got those tools available. From an engineer's point of view, you might be interested in the energy and carbon side of things, or let's say you're focused on partial building regulation checks or generating EPCs. So you've got so depending on who you are and how you're approaching building performance, we provide a wide variety of building performance tools for you to choose from. The beauty of the platform is that it's modular in nature, which means that you can invest in the tools that you're interested in or that are most relevant for your projects. So moving on, PiscesPro, a tool that we have recently launched. We were getting a lot of feedback in the recent years. So some of the IES users out there were happy with the fact that they have got this tool, they can have an integrated approach to building performance, but they felt that there was something missing. And the feedback that you're receiving is that they could hugely benefit if you were to include modules related to pipe sizing and duct sizing. So we have done that. We've exactly done that. We have listened to your feedback. We put that. We have raised it with the dev team. And only quite recently we have launched both the PiscesPro and IndusPro. So PiscesPro is for pipe sizing, P for Pisces, P for pipe sizing, and IndusPro is meant for duct sizing. So just to give you a very quick overview of what PiscesPro is all about, it's about designing and sizing piped heating and cooling networks. Now it can apply to different types of pipe networks, so be it single pipe, two pipe, or reverse return systems. Again, so it's as I said, our tool is modular in nature. We provide an integrated approach to building performance. So that's why we ensure that we introduce PiscesPro as one of the modules within the virtual environment, which means that if you are working with a 3D building model, you can use the exact same 3D building model, or if it's the case that you have a DXF drawing file from a CAD platform, from CAD software, you can bring that in and you can basically trace your pipe networks on top of that. Or you can just start on a blank canvas without necessarily having to consider a 3D model as such. It could be the case in some situations you might be checking existing systems. In that case, you can manually fix pipe sizes, and once you're done with your pipe design and sizing, you can export that network as a 2D DXF file into other CAD systems. Now, what we are also working on, because we are aware that there are organizations out there who might be using Revit MEP for their pipe and duct design. So what we're essentially also working in the background, we're trying to achieve is that once you're done with the pipe sizing, how can we facilitate you to transfer all that information and bring it in a Revit MEP environment, so you don't necessarily have to repeat the process, or let's say copying and pasting stuff from your IES pipe sizing tool to your Revit MEP. So that's also in progress, and you'll be getting updates about that in the coming weeks. IndusPro, so PiscesPro is for pipe sizing, IndusPro is for duct sizing. It's a similar sort of concept. It's meant for designing and sizing air duct networks, both for supply and extract systems. Again, the concept is you can use a 3D building model, or you can trace over a DXF file, or you can start with a blank canvas. Now, there's some design that you can apply this. You can use this tool for a number of design processes. So, these are mentioned here, be it constant friction, constant velocity, or static V-gain. It also accounts for diversity in variable air volume systems. So, if it's the case that you're working on a specific variable air volume system, you can choose that from the options available within the platform. Again, so once you're done with the design sizing, you can export that data as a 2D DXF file for other CAD system. But again, we are working, as I said, we are working in the background to ensure that you can get the data out of IndusPro and bring that to a Revit MEP environment, so that you don't necessarily have to repeat, or let's say copy and paste data from one platform to another. So that's PiscesPro and IndusPro. That's the summary for both these tools. What I want to do now is to take you to our website and show you where you can find relevant information. So this is the IES website. We are currently on the IES website, and I am actually in the software section. So within the software section, you'll know what the page is like if you have downloaded a software recently, but if you haven't, that's fine. Just go to our website, go to the software section. So within the V for engineers, click more, and you'll be directed to a page where you'll find different categories of building performance analysis that you can carry out using IES tools. So if you go to the HVAC system sizing and optimization section, you'll find details related to Apache HVAC, a tool that we've been offering for years. But you'll also, in addition, you'll also find information related both to IndusPro and PiscesPro. Now, if it's the case that you want to look at any details as such, just click on the details section and you'll be led to a page. So you'll see a similar sort of overview that I presented to you today, including some additional details. You'll see some screenshots, and you can also read through some of the technical details. This is something that you've been doing in the past, and you want to know exactly what the capabilities of the tools are like. So similarly, with PiscesPro, you've got these additional details available as well. And so you've got the details, but if you also want to have a quick overview of what it's like to use PiscesPro and IndusPro, you can click on the PiscesPro and IndusPro video links that are available. So when you click on these links, you are directed to the IES YouTube page. And what you'll find here, so there are two pages, dedicated, one page dedicated to each of the tools. And what you'll essentially see here is one of our in-house expert trainers showing you, how you can use these tools to essentially first of all, design your network and then size your networks. So I would suggest that, this is something that you have not done in the past. This is a really great resource. It's very well explained, and basically what the in-house trainer has done is taking, they start from scratch and they take you through the different sections of the platform, explain to you the different buttons that you need to carry out a pipe design and sizing or a duct design sizing exercise, and show you how to where you can access the results, and how to analyze those results as well. So that relates to all the resources available on the website with regards to these two tools. So if I was to come back, sorry, we won't be going back to the presentation right now. What we'll do is we will go to IS virtual environment, and we'll do a basic pipe sizing exercise. So within the virtual environment, you know where the applications are. So if you go further down, if you already have, let's say if you're an unlimited IS license, you will see that these tools are now available. And bear in mind, I've got an alert recently that there is an updated version of the software. So please go ahead and download the updated version. So that's PiscesPro. You've got IndusPro for duct sizing. I've got a really basic model here, just a box model for the purpose of this demo. Now bear in mind, so traditionally, in the past, if you're using Model Viewer, that's our Model Viewer 2. But when it comes to pipe sizing and duct sizing exercise, so we need to make a small change here. So we need to go to the Tools, the Preferences section, and we need to change the default viewing engine, that is usually Model Viewer 2, to Model Viewer 1. So that's something we need to take care of when we are doing this pipe sizing or duct sizing exercise. So I'm currently within the pipe sizing PiscesPro, that's pipe sizing module. So you'll see that there are a few options available here. So there are the pipe parameters, which you can change. You can add new pipes, you can delete pipes. So there's plenty of options available here. There's the system data, which relates to the fluid properties. So you can change that, the fluid temperatures, the flow and the return temperatures. So you can tinker with those settings. So if I go to the drawing settings, you'll find here, first of all, there are a few tick boxes here which says display pipes. Now obviously there's no network to begin with, so this won't do anything to the model as such. So when you're drawing the pipe, you've got these three different options, be it a single line, twin line, or 3D option. Real world Z coordinates. So this is to define where you want to place the heat emitters for the pipes. So let's leave it at 0.2. Let's look at the default components. So you've got the default components as well. You can make changes to these components if you want in line with your project. So what I want to do now is, another thing that I wanted to let you know is that when you're drawing your pipes, when you're laying down your heat emitters, it's advisable if you use the plan being option rather than the axonometric being option. It's much easier to do it in the plan option, and I will show you how to go about it right now. So I've got a few buttons here. Only a few buttons required for the purpose of this demo, but when you are exploring this tool, feel free to see what the other buttons can do. So I want to start off with, first of all, placing a terminal. So I'll choose a terminal and I'll just place it on one edge of this box model. I also want to place a second terminal on the adjoining wall. Now if you see what's happening here is that the default option for placing down heat emitters is that it will always be placed horizontally. Now obviously it won't work in this particular case, so what we want to do is we want to go to the edit component section and we want to rotate this by 90 degrees. Now you'll see that the heat emitter hasn't actually rotated. So in order for it to rotate, we need to refresh the viewing option. And you'll see the heat emitter is now rotated. It's in line with the orientation of the wall here. So those are the two heat emitters placed. As a next step, I want to place down some pipes as well. So before I start placing down the pipes, sorry, with regards to the heat emitter, I should have, I should have also mentioned that when you're placing the heat emitters, you have the option of defining the heat emission for these emitters. So in this case, it's already defined, but let's say if it's different to the number here, then feel free to go ahead and make those changes. So let's lay down the pipes as such, but before I lay down the pipes, I want to quickly show you how to do that outside the model, and then we'll lay the pipes inside the model. So for example, when you're laying down the pipes, you have to first of all identify whether it's a flow pipe or a return pipe. So for example, let's say if I'm drawing a flow pipe, I can go to the default component section, I can click the option which says that if it's a flow pipe, and now if I'm drawing a pipe, it will be laid down as a flow pipe. If I untick that box and draw a pipe, it will be a return pipe automatically. Now in order to make the distinction between a flow pipe and return pipe, you've got the option of color coding your pipes here. So if you can see the colors here, let's look at the third option which says display color for supply pipes. So if I click this, and this is completely up to you, this is completely optional. So whatever frameworks you're following, whatever methodologies you're following, you can basically just pick and choose the colors that you and your team are most comfortable with. So again, the option for display color for return pipes, again, I can then choose a pipe, I can then choose a color for the return pipe as well. So I think in this case what I've done is that for the return pipe, I have consciously used the blue color to show that, so hot water will go in through the radiators and cold water will come back. So it'll be easier for me to track what sort of pipe it is, especially if it's a complex network. So laying down a pipe, really, really easy. First step, what you need to do is to ensure that you are switched on the axis lock rather than the grid lock, because we want the pipes to be either along the x-axis or the y-axis. So let's click the pipe option. So let's look at the default component. Let's say this pipe is a flow pipe. So I've just drawn a flow pipe. So let's zoom in. So what you can see here, you can see a pump here at the one end of the pipe. And because this is a flow pipe, it's exactly in line with the color that I've chosen. Now if I wanted to draw a return pipe, let's untick that box. And let's draw a return pipe. Now that's blue in color, showing that it's a return pipe. Now, for example, the good thing about drawing pipes with pipes in this environment is that you don't necessarily have to draw. So let's say if you wanted to connect two different pipes, you don't necessarily have to draw two pipes and then connect them with the connector. You can just go ahead. So let's say, what's the default component? This is a flow pipe. So what I'll do, I'll draw a flow pipe here. I'll click again for the pipe to bend, and I'll click again. Now if I zoom in here, what you'll find here that the connectors have automatically been placed, the bends have automatically been placed, so you don't necessarily have to be concerned about the bends as such. You can just go about drawing these pipes and the bends will automatically be placed here. Now if I wanted to, let's say, extend the pipe from here, all I need to do is just click on the bend and extend the pipe, and that will automatically be converted to a T-junction. So that's one of the advantages of using this tool, is you don't necessarily have to be concerned about the bends and the T-sections, and you can just go about drawing your pipes and it'll be automatically taken care of. So let me delete these components now. Oh, there's one more pipe, so let me delete that as well. So let us go back to the model and let's draw the pipes. So let's draw the pipes. Let's draw the flow pipe first. So I just want to ensure that the axis lock is on. So click, click, click. So I've got my flow pipe drawn here. And bear in mind, you can always toggle between, these three options in terms of how you want the pipes to be shown. So for this particular demo, what I've done is I have gone ahead with the twin line option. But I can very easily switch from twin line to a single line or a 3D. So that's the flow pipe done. Let's draw the return pipe. So 1 click, 2 click, and 3 click. So that's the return pipes drawn. So if I zoom in, you can see the two different colors associated with the flow and the return pipes. Now what I need to do is connect these pipes to the heat emitters. So in that case, you have to go with the connect pipe button. It's really, really simple. You press the connect pipe button. You choose the pipe that you want to connect. You go to the middle of the heat emitter and where you'll see a plus sign. You click that. And then you go to the one end of the radiator where you want the pipe to be connected and you click that again. So it's really, really simple. So that's the pipe connected. So let's connect the flow pipe to the second heat emitter. I just repeat the process that I've done for the first heat emitter, and you'll see that both these pipes are now connected. Now let's do that for the return pipe. So again, I click the pipe that's highlighted. I go to the middle of the heat emitter where you see the plus sign, click it, and I go to the other end of the heat emitter and click that again. So it wants me to confirm whether there's a return pipe. Yes, it is. And I basically just follow the same process for the second heat emitter as well. Now you'll find that there are sections of pipe which are not required. So in order to get rid of them, I'll just highlight them and get rid of those sections which are not required in order to build a closed loop system. I also don't want two pumps. I am just happy with one pump for this system. Now because I want to connect the pipe to the pump, I'll go through the same process, select the pipe, select the component, and click at one end of the pump so as to ensure that now I've got a closed system. So how do I view this system? I've already made the changes. I think I've already shared this with you that we need to change the model viewer settings to model viewer 1 in order to view this system. So let's go to the model viewer 1. And you'll find that you can see the box model, but you can also see the pipes and the heat emitters and the whole network as such. Now if I wanted to, I could just get rid of the model and I can view that again in the model viewer 1 using the model viewer 1 option. So I think that's the only thing that you need to be concerned about. So if you suddenly click, let's say if I change this to model viewer 2, and if I go to the model viewer 2 section, you won't be able to see anything because there's no model as such. Or let's say even if I was to select the model, go back to model viewer 2, you would be able to see the model as such, but you're not necessarily going to see the network. So it's important for us to remember that within the preference section, we need to change it from model viewer 2 to model viewer 1. So we've got a network here. We've got the heat emitters and the pipes in place. We have connected the pipes to the heat emitters. We've ensured that it's a closed loop system. What we want to do now is to do a sizing exercise. So let's look at this model in axonometric view. And now let's display the pipe sizes. Obviously the pipe sizes don't mean anything because we haven't sized the pipes. So let's do a sizing exercise. So really, really simple. You click the Sigma button and you just, click through the buttons, go through it step by step, and essentially the pipes have now been sized. So what you're looking at in the output file, you can see the input data here, and then you can see the calculated data. You can see the pipe sizes for each of the nodes. You can see the flow temperatures, the inflow and the outflow temperatures, the velocities. So everything is mentioned here, in the outputs. You can also see the useful heat required and the boiler output required. Obviously, that the boiler output is more than the useful heat required, so as to account for heat losses in the network. So there's a lot of information here that you can. So after you have sized the pipes, essentially you can use this information to generate reports. Now, if I close this and go back to display pipe sizes, you'll now see that the pipes have been sized and they have also been numbered. So each of the different pipe sections have been numbered, so you know exactly what pipe sizes, what these pipe sizes are. Now, if I want to access the report again, I can go to the review section, click the output file, and in essence, what's happened, you know, is that this is just a copy of the file that we looked at in the first instance, with basically all the information that was available to us after we had done our pipe sizing exercise. So that's pipe sizing done. In addition to pipe sizing, you also have access to another report, which is the parts list. So the parts list gives you details of the lengths of pipework that is required and other components. So you can see details related to bends, connectors, tees, radiator valves. So you have access to all this information within the parts list report, which can be accessed by clicking the part list button at the top of the that is present along with some of the other tools that comes with PiscesPro. So that's PiscesPro for you. That's pipe designing, pipe sizing for you. With regards to IndusPro, I'm not really going to spend a lot of time because it's very, very similar. So if I just go to IndusPro quickly, you'll see a similar sort of layout here. You've got the duct parameters, you've got the system data, you've got the duct ranges. So you've got all these information that you can tinker with, you can change. Again, similar sort of setup. You've got the Z coordinates available here. You can choose when you're laying a duct, you can choose whether it's a single line, twin line, 3D, again, the default component. So all sorts of, you know, it's a very similar sort of layout and a very similar sort of exercise, except that in this case, you are laying down ducts rather than pipes. So that's the draw duct option. You're laying down, placing terminals rather than heat emitters. So that's the terminal option. And, you know, it's a similar sort of exercise that we are doing. So again, you know, sigma represents the calculations, so that will help you with duct sizing. That's the parts list report. And if it's the case that, for example, you know, let's go back to PiscesPro. So in this case, you know, we had already done our pipe sizing exercise, but if it's the case that you have to make any changes to it as such, you can just remove all the calculated sizes, repeat the exercise, do your calculations again, and look at the new pipe sizes. So that, you know, again, you know, it's the concept of iterating to ensure that you come up with the best design, whether it be the pipe sizing or duct sizing exercise. So that's pretty much it from my side. There's just one last thing that I want to touch upon. I wanted to discuss the fee structure that we have. So for example, with regards to both these tools, they've got exactly the same fee structure. Whether be it a standalone license or a network license. Now, you know, it is up to you what you think, what sort of license will suit you best. So there are 4 different options available here, both the annual and rolling standalone and then annual and rolling network. So if you already got IES license, then all you need to do is first of all talk to your IT to find out what sort of licenses you have, and then, you know, come back to us requesting you know, similar sort of license for these tools. Now you can either purchase just one tool. So if you do lots of pipe sizing, you can go with PiscesPro. But if you think that you can benefit from both these tools, you can purchase both of them together. Just to let you know, there are some discounts available, especially if you're purchasing both these tools available. I would suggest that you talk to your account manager, get in touch with your account manager, let them know what your requirements are, and ask the details of the discounts that are available currently. I've already mentioned this, but you know, I'll let it be known again. If you have any questions about the tools, if you're using the tools, if you come across any issues, write to support@isv.com. If you think you can benefit from training these tools because you want to get your team up and running fairly quickly, write to a training team. If you're ready to go ahead with the purchase of these tools, write to the sales team. So basically that's it from my side. I've got 5 minutes for Q&A, so if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to go ahead. But yeah, do remember that there are a lot of resources available on our website that's the best starting point if you are considering investing in these tools. Great. So I've got a few questions here. So a question that I've got here: how do you include for height? Great. So let me, in order to answer this question, I'll have to go back to the IASB model. So how do you account for height? Sorry, I should have covered. I think I did cover this. So for example, let's say if you are placing the heat emitter, what I could have done, and it was already this option was already available here. I could decide the height at which they are to be placed. So I can change this height, and essentially when I place a heat emitter next, it'll be shown in the and if I go to the model viewer, it'll be shown that the height is now changed. Now, I didn't make the change in this case when I was doing this demo, but when I was laying down the pipes, what I could have done is I could have changed this to 0. So essentially what I'm saying is that they're placed at the same level as the floor. So that is how you account for the height. So similar sort of setup within IndusPro. When you go to drawing settings, you can define the Z coordinates either for, let's say, the ducts or the terminals to ensure that they are at the right height. Great, let's look at another question. Can we size hot and cold water pipes to shower toilets, etc.? Not at this point in time. So the way the PiscesPro is structured is that it only helps, it facilitates designing closed loop systems and not open loop systems at this point in time. But it's good feedback. I'm going to raise this with the design team, and I'm sure that the design team is already on top of it. But if this is something that will help you with your projects, then we can certainly take it on board. Is there a link to Apache HVAC? Not at this point in time. Not at this point in time. But as I've said, these are we only recently launched these tools. So depending on the feedback that we'll get from the users, we are going to make changes to them. So what I'll suggest is, as I've said, I've showed you the resources that are available on our website. So that's a great starting point. Go ahead and look at those resources. Come back to us with questions, write to the support team, training team, or the sales team. Talk to your account manager and start using those tools. If you got an unlimited license, that's great. It means that you've already got access to these tools. So start using those tools. Give us some feedback. That'll give us the opportunity to improve these tools over the coming months. And we can ensure that you get the most out of your investment in PiscesPro and IndusPro. Great. Well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you, everyone. Thanks again.